Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar series. This one is with Jen and I from the NHAT Connect program, and we're going to talk about matching students' needs to assistive technology devices using the SETT framework. You're here with us. Hope you find some value in this conversation as we go through. If you are dazzled by our slides and you would like them, there you go. There is a QR code on the slide. There is also a link on the slide. You can get the slides. Some of these will have embedded forms. So as we go, and Jen and I will point these out to you, some of these images in the slides actually go somewhere, go to a website, go to a form, go to something else. So having the slides might actually be pretty helpful for you as you go forward. Because again, this is going to be a kind of a short webinar with maybe, I guess, some homework as you go forward.
And our focus, this is not about technology tools. This is about the process. And this is a process that we were using decades before iPads came out. And before Google was really a thing, and before we had Chromebooks everywhere, and the process has stayed the same. So what this
and
is
it is
about
just as effective as it was.
It is. All right.
So, Jen, who are you?
So I'm Jennifer Edge-Savage. I'm an occupational therapist by profession. I'm an assistive technology specialist. I love this field. I'm Mike's partner in crime, providing these supports. We're really on a mission to just spread the word about assistive technology and make sure all students are included and that all students can achieve whatever it is they want to achieve. And I really believe we can do that with the right tools to support them.
For sure. Ditto to everything Jen said. Hi, my name is Mike Marotta. I am also one of the NHAT Connect Project Managers with Jen. We're very excited about this project. We love working with this project and reaching out across the state of New Hampshire and then beyond. I mean, when we record things like that, we reach beyond the borders of New Hampshire, which is even better. I build that community of understanding about assistive tech. I'm an assistive technology specialist, but you see that I've changed my title and just made up a new one called an inclusive technology evangelist. Jen said it before, and I think it's so true. It's this idea of shouting out to people and telling them the power of some of these tools to support our learners. And so we do take on that role of the standing on a soapbox and shouting out to people like how great all of this is. So we're happy you're here with us. Jen, do you want to talk about NHAT Connect?
Yeah, our big focus over the years, and we've had different hats within it, is really to just build capacity, spread the word. In some ways, at grassroots level, we work directly with teams. We support folks working directly with the Department of Ed and keep sharing and resharing and training and retraining and really help to build people's understanding so that we can better support our students. So this webinar is being recorded, as have all of the webinars that we've done over the years. So if you want to dive deeper into some tools or specific population, we probably have that resource available to you on nhatconnect.com.
Tons of resources there. This one will end up there as well. Things specifically for process pieces like today, things about tools. There's a mix of everything. We have Jen and I doing some webinars. We have national presenters doing some webinars. So a nice mix. If you're in the state of New Hampshire and you're watching this or joining us, we can work directly with your teams. So what we do as part of our training, in addition to this outreach in these kinds of remote or virtual training sessions, we also do a year-long training session with teams from districts to build capacity. So we work with them. It's a hybrid program. We come out to work with them. We see people for 3 full days, right? Am I right?
3 full days and our AT Expo, and ongoing support and check-ins online with them as well. So we really do try to coach folks through not knowing what assistive technology is, but think it might be helpful, to feeling more and more competent and comfortable in sharing that. And we require folks to share with their districts to help build understanding within their district. So that's what we get to do.
Love it. And we fit into the New Hampshire focus. You see the focus areas for New Hampshire within the Department of Ed, the Special Ed Bureau here. There's the focuses that they have, and we have carved out a spot in 3 of them: accessibility, accessible educational materials, and assistive technology. And our hope is to not just stay within those three pieces, but instead have an influence across all and have those programs influence what we do as well. But ultimately, we look at the three pieces that we are focused on and think about that. I would almost call that the sweet spot right there in the center. Like, how do we make sure that student gets those three pieces that lead to success? And so that's kind of the hope that we have throughout and how we weave that through um, our trainings and the supports that we give teams. It, kind of like three threads that we never really point out, like, oh, this is an accessibility conversation. This is AT. It's just kind of weaves in and out as we go to give more of a well-rounded approach to ensuring that we're putting pieces in place that will enable that student to be successful as they go forward.
Right, and certainly our assistive technology is what might make those accessible educational materials actually accessible because they can be accessed with assistive technology. And if we're thinking about accessibility in general, we're starting to think, okay, are our books accessible? Is our curriculum accessible? Are our learning management systems accessible? Can the AT be used with those? How do we provide that accessible educational materials? So they're very different things, but interconnected.
For sure. All right.
All
Now that
right.
we've told you who we are, let's tell you what we're going to talk about today. So we're really going to focus on this idea of, like Jen said, the concept of effective services to ensure that the students you're working with are getting the technology that is appropriate for them, not just getting tech. Getting tech is easy. Look around your desk where you are right now. You probably have tech. Gathering tech is easy. Getting the right tech is tricky. And so, how do we make sure we put the things in place that help us get the right tools for our students as we go? And of course, to set the stage a little bit, set the stage, not even pun intended, just worked out that way. Or set the stage. Here's the definitions from IDEA about an assistive technology device, assistive technology service. Like Jen mentioned, our focus today is going to be on the right side there, the AT service piece. Any service that directly assists that individual with a disability in the selection, acquisition, or use of an assistive technology device. It's an assistive technology device. Look on the left side. I'm going to tell you it could be anything, anything at all, any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether you get it commercially off the shelf, you modify it or customize it, that you use to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capability of an individual with a disability. Those are the definitions that guide our work.
And for folks in the audience participating, feel free to throw into the chat, like maybe your favorite assistive technology tools or ideas of what you've seen, what you'd like to see more of in your school districts too, or in your classrooms. We'll monitor that as we move along.
Yeah, for sure. And think about that as you move through your day or move through a classroom or your school, as you look at items, do they fit into that definition? They assistive technology. They're assistive technology when they perform that job for someone, when they provide that support. Otherwise, they might just be accessible technology.
And this is things that come up too. How do you tell the difference between what's something that's assistive technology and something that's just technology when we're thinking about the Universal Design for Learning umbrella? How do you know whether it's assistive technology? Is it required? Can the student not do what that student needs to do without the technology? If they can, it might be a nice to have. It might fall under this more blanket kind of giving student choice and voice in the tools they might use. But if it's assistive, they're required to have it, and we need to make sure that we document that.
And so ultimately, our goal, the thing we are striving for with this whole process, is implementation, is effective implementation of AT, getting this whole system to work for the student. That system is the devices and the services interlocked to make sure that they are successful. You can't have success without one of these pieces. Stuff, or you'll have processes, but you won't have success until you have both of them working at the same time. It's sometimes hard for people to think about, because I think a lot of times people, and Jen and I have seen this a lot, people get so fixated on the things and collecting tools or devices or technology that they forget that there's all this other support that needs to happen around that to make it work. And that's the part that's tricky. That's the part that's hard. That's the part that makes this worthwhile and makes you successful, is thinking of both of these pieces. And you're going to find as we go, watch Jen and I struggle to do this in a half hour and not just talk about this all day, right? Jen and I could talk about this
We do,
conversation
and we
all
often
day.
do talk about it all day because we bring our teams through this process with individual students and workshop them. So we're going to give you the quick taste of this
Yeah.
and some
You get
resources to
the
consider.
taste and some ways to go forward and look a little more and look deeper. But this will give you the snapshot of it. And really, do you want to talk about consideration, Jen, or would you like me to?
I mean, I'm happy to because this gets me on fire because there's
Go for
no
it.
date on this. But so we are required, IEPs are we are required to consider whether a child requires assistive technology devices and services. This has been a requirement since 1997. This has been a requirement since before some of our teachers were born. We're required to consider this for our students. How well we do with that, how much data we collect on that is still a concern that we're having the same conversations that we were, my math is bad, 27 years ago. Okay. We need to require, every team is required. And so often it's just a checkbox. Do they need it or not? Yes or no. But was it actually considered? All right. So the team gets to decide and work together to really determine if a child needs a particular device or service, intervention, accommodation, etc., to receive that free and appropriate public education. And that IEP needs to include a statement to that effect in the IEP.
I'm a big fan of that last bullet because I think that, and Jen mentioned it already, this idea of consideration is more than just the box that says you did it. Think about that statement. How did you do it? What did that look like for that student?
Yeah.
That's true consideration, is getting deeper into your process of doing this, because ultimately that's what guides this along. You could pick up an IEP. I've picked up many in my life where the box is there, the box is checked, and yet I have no sense from the rest of that report of what the team did, what they
Mhm.
thought about, how they came to the conclusions they came to, just none of it, because it started and ended with this checkbox. And that's not effective when we talk about effective consideration. So we are hoping to introduce you to the SETT framework. If you know the SETT framework already, awesome. We're glad you're here. Maybe you'll get a little nugget of something that helps you implement it better. If you're new to the SETT framework, hold on. This is a tool that you're going to use over and over again.
And this is a tool to help with thinking, help with collaboration, help with documentation of who that student is, what's available or needed in the environment, what tasks they're struggling with, and then the final thing, what tools. Tools should always come last. We know in special education, general education too, like we have to have these conversations and know our students. If we know our students and we're really clear what the tasks are, it makes finding the tools so much easier.
Yes,
Because
for
sometimes
sure.
you're like, they just need an iPad. Okay, well, what do they need on the iPad? Or well, they need this text help thing. Okay, well, what, text help is a company. What are the tools within text help and how will they support them? And this is the sharing and thinking and rethinking about what students might need to help guide us. It really is a framework for guiding us more thoughtfully to the tools, the assistive technology our students might need.
And oftentimes, and Jen and I are both evaluators. Thankfully, neither of us have done an evaluation in quite a while and written a report. That's been good. We've been doing these kind, which is much more fun than writing reports. But this idea of people coming to us with tools is something that happens all the time. And as an evaluator or a specialist or just an informed team member, the most powerful thing you can ask people when they come with tools for you is why? Why do you need that? Because what you're doing is you're guiding the conversation back into this SETT framework. Because by asking people why, I need an iPad, why? I need this app, that brings them back to, well, this student does really well with this. And in the classroom wherein it'll help with these tasks they need to do, suddenly they've done it on their own. They've moved back through the SETT framework with our guidance as we go through. So don't be afraid of feeling like a kindergartner just asking why 1,000 times. I've found that's the best question we could ask.
And I think it's not to be challenging, it's also for buy-in to be really clear so that it's not abandoned too. Like be really clear about what we need and why, and that we're committed to this as a team, and that we're going to really try these tools with fidelity and look for the difference in the impact it has on student performance with those tasks. In the way I think so student set is student, the environment, the tasks, and the tools, the SETT framework. Student comes first. And really, that extra S really looking at students' strengths across curriculum areas, as well as like activities of daily living and recreation and leisure are important too, like looking at the whole student. And then really looking at the environment and what are the resources in the environment? How is instruction given? Is their performance different in one class versus another, one environment versus another? And if so, why? And then really, what are the tasks that they really need to do that they're struggling to do? And what that can do also is make us really think, what is the educational rationale behind these tasks? Is there a different task they could do that would still meet the needs? Or is there a different way to access that task that would still meet the academic needs? And then looking for the tool. I'll share a really quick example. I worked with an educator who was just really so worried about her student that she needed some help with spelling. That was a task. She was struggled with spelling. And we really dove in and looked at what the student was doing. Student wasn't struggling with spelling. She could spell perfectly. Student struggled with visual spatial issues and motor issues with writing because she would write the letters one on top of each other. That's not a spelling issue. She can spell. So being really focused about what the task is struggling with, pardon me, will make it much easier to make your magic Google search for that tool if a tool isn't coming off the tip of your tongue. Does that seem fair, Mike?
That's very fair. And you took exactly what I was going to say next, is that what we often find, the power of following this process piece, is that if you answer these first three questions, who is the student, what are the environments, what are the tasks, you start to identify what it is you're looking for in a tool. And then you can magically, like Jen said, you can now be an expert Googler at that point. Because, again, to reiterate what I said before, um, finding tools or getting tools is easy. Getting the right tools is hard. How do you get the right tools? You follow a process that helps you identify what is it you're looking for in a tool. Getting just an iPad alone doesn't necessarily solve a lot of issues. It's what you do with that iPad, it's what you put on it. Having a Chromebook doesn't solve all of your issues, but having a Chromebook that's outfitted with the things you need to complete your tasks helps you be more effective. So knowing what you need becomes critical.
And that starts, and then part of this process as we dig a little bit deeper into it, is like that leads you into what services might be needed, what trainings needed, making sure the assist technology user and the caregivers and the school team understands what it's for, can support it, welcomes it, uh, so that the student can be successful with it.
Let us show you a little bit about the form. And we I don't know that we said it a second ago, Jen, but the SETT framework was developed by Dr. Joy Zabala. One of the powerful things that Joy thought to do very early on, in fact, in the beginning, was say anyone can do anything they'd like with this form as long as you keep the copyright at the bottom of where it came from. And I think what that's done is given us opportunities to see this form blossom and change over time. We're going to show you a couple different versions of a SETT form. They are all linked. If you get the slides, and by the end, remind me, Jen, I'll put the link back up at the end. But any of these pictures that are on the slides will take you to the PDF of this form, so you'll have it to fill out. Jen, you want to talk about this one? You love this one.
I love this one. Like, this is just the beginning of it. And for anyone who's ever been on an IP, this should be pretty comfortable. I think I just put the link into the form, into the chat too. We just start by saying what are the areas Is it academic performance for vocational performance? Is it physical issues, sensory, communication needs? Just what are the big areas where student is struggling? Could be one, could be multiple, but is everybody on the same page with where we are seeing issues? And sometimes this form might enlighten folks who are thinking, oh, I didn't incur that. Maybe it is a vision issue or they can't access that book or that device or the board. So it gives a little bit of guidance as far as the different areas to really think about.
The other thing too is that I think one of the beautiful things that the SETT framework does is it demystifies the idea of assistive technology. People get
I
very nervous, right, Jen, about I don't know tech.
Oh my gosh, the number of times, and we've been doing evaluations for a really long time before I retired from doing actual AT evaluations. Folks like, I don't know about assistive technology. I'm like, yep, that's the point. That's why we're going to have this conversation.
Exactly.
We're going to know the student and the environment and the tasks and the tools. And then we're going to lean towards this. You do not need to know all the assistive technology tools. And by the way, no one does. You don't need to know all the tools to start this process to guide the team to a more effective choice of tools at the
Right.
end.
So true. This form that's on the screen right now, nothing in this form is testing your knowledge of assistive technology. What it's asking you to do is tell us about the person we're looking at. And I like to point out to teachers or to team members, you know the student, tell me about the student. That's what I'm asking you right now. Don't worry about technology yet. We'll figure that out as we go. This is something we can all participate in. This, and as we go forward and thinking about the areas and the environments of where they need support, again, these are pieces that all members of the team should feel comfortable enough answering. And what we'll do by asking multiple team members to participate, one of the powerful things about this too is you ask everyone to participate in this process. Everyone on the team shares their ideas because that will help us get a more well-rounded picture of the student, what their needs are, and what some possible solutions are.
And what this form really guides you through too is like, okay, what are the areas of concern? What have we already tried with modifications or other tools? Even maybe some tools have been tried, but the team's not really sure why they're not working. And then what are additional tools we might like to look at? Nobody has to have all the answers. Let's just assess where the student is now, where the team is now with their knowledge. And with the tools that they're trying, and then make a game plan for like, okay, there's some other things we might want to look at, and there might be some things that we still don't know, and who's responsible for them, and who else do we need to maybe call in to help us out. It's just a documentable framework that this doesn't belong in the IP, but it certainly would be adjacent to the student's folder as far as and also that future teams can see what the thought process was, how we came up with certain ideas too.
I like the way you said that, Jen. This is an IEP adjacent document.
Yeah,
It's a folder document. It's to me, sometimes I think this is almost an easier document. Once you compile all the information together, this is sometimes easier to share than an IEP because it's kind of snapshotty. It gives you a snapshot and it points you towards these things that the team was thinking of, especially like Jen mentioned, if the student's going to go somewhere else, they're transitioning to another school, moving to another school, whatever it might be. This really gives some deep insight into what this team considered as they put these things in place. Just like the term says, consideration. That's what this was.
And I love this next form is our brainstorming form. And there's been versions of this. We can put this in Google Forms. It could be in a Google Doc. It could be in a Office 365 doc via Teams. It's something to just let everybody collaborate. The SETT framework really should never be done in isolation with one person. Like you want to have multiple perspectives. There's even a line there to put the perspective. Teachers, related services, the student themselves, the parents, Mike, you always share the bus driver, somebody else.
Anybody who's on that team. The answer, anytime someone says, should I give this to? And then they list somebody, the answer is always yes. Yes, give it to them.
Gathering information, get as much as you can.
Because you never know where that's going to come from. You never know where your aha moment might come from. We don't know. That's the beauty of doing this as a team, is we're relying on these skills that other people have on our team, these experiences, these chunks of knowledge they have. We need to gather all that so that we can do this as best as possible.
And the tasks they need to do don't include the tools you're already using. The tasks are like, what are they struggling with? Like, what are the tasks that they're struggling with that they need to do in order to participate at the same level with their peers? Like, and it could be different for different content areas. It could, there could be some things that are true across content areas,
Mhm.
but this starts getting us really focused and then trying to figure out where do we begin?
Yeah. This is your beginning part. And for all those people that want to go right to tools, there is an opportunity to say to them, let's move through this as a process. Let's do this part first. And then we end up at a form that allows us to talk about tools, but in a way that is productive, in a
Right.
way that allows us to think about tools in relation to what this student needs to accomplish, which are those tasks we mentioned.
And in a way that we got to this idea together. So it's not a tool that's dumped on someone who didn't want it or is afraid to use it. It's something like, okay, we've decided, knowing the student, here's some possible tools we would like to explore to meet these tasks that they're struggling with. And we can check off boxes between. Maybe there's one tool or a couple tools that meet multiple tasks. And then that might help narrow us down.
Exactly. And so what you end up with is tasks along the top, tools along the side, and suddenly it is a feature match process.
Mhm.
What tool does what thing that I need? And so when we start thinking about where do I start, the form helps you figure out where to start. Does that mean that the tool that you decide on is going to be the right one? No, not necessarily, but it was what I'd like to call an educated guess from the information we had.
It also starts building your justification for why this tool. And sometimes it's a justification to purchase it, sometimes it's justification to implement it. But like this is your paper trail of how you got here. Sure, sometimes we can introduce something that's built-in accessibility to like this works amazing, and we didn't have to do a whole lot of thought process because that's just gonna work. And they tried it and it worked. We did a response to the intervention and it was amazing, like magic. But that's not always the case, especially when we're thinking about more complex individuals, as we really need to go through these tools. This also helps when team members are like, oh, I need this tool. Well, when we really look at the tasks, maybe that tool doesn't really actually have all the features that are needed for that student to be successful for the task. And we get an opportunity to look at that and prove and demonstrate what might work. These are simple little forms. We have our teams. They're all required to do a SETT framework on pick a student and do it to
Mhm.
experience it and workshop it with our support when we go through um, our year-long program with our teams. I know Mike and I are both professors who work with students. There is always a requirement to do a SETT framework and really come up with something and try something out and tell us about it with your students. So there's experience and support with the process.
Again,
And
this will help you.
yeah,
This will help you be a better um, team member. This is not to say that you're now the AT expert. And like Jen said, I don't know of anybody who could call himself an expert. Things change
I
so
don't trust them
rapidly.
if they say that anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I would not trust that person either. I'd run away from that person.
Things change so quickly, there's always new things to
They
learn.
do, but what I would love to see people more is experts in the process.
Mhm.
And that means you're doing it consistently, you're doing it thoughtfully. The answers you're coming up with are being successful, are helping those students be successful as they go forward. If you have not seen this yet and you are in New Hampshire, which is wonderful, we do have, which was put together by the members of the Quiet Group, the New Hampshire Assistive Technology Handbook. So if you're in New Hampshire, you can go to the website and enter your information and download a copy of it so you have it, which is about process. No, you were going to say, Jen, I saw you lean forward as I was still.
No, and this book was created in conjunction with education teams throughout New Hampshire to like take the original Quiet book and just customize it a little bit and make it more New Hampshire specific using the same resources that are used for any state or district that you're in. But these are really developed with New Hampshire in mind, and you can absolutely get a copy of it, print it out, and have a great resource when you don't know where to begin. this is a good place. Now, this is the quiet handbook, but part of quiet is really doing that, gathering that information about that consideration for assistive technology, which SETT firmly supports, is what it's designed for.
For sure. And if you're not familiar, I don't even know if we just said it out loud. We just say quiet so many times. I don't know that we said what that stands for.
Sure.
Quiet is QIAT, Quality Indicators for Assistive Technology Services. Quiet.
Yep. Which has been around for, gosh, over 25 years.
Over 25 years.
Over
Again,
25 years.
these process pieces don't change because they are not dependent on tech. They are there to support tech.
And join us on Thursday because we're talking about quiet and what that looks like.
That's right. If you're here in real time with us and you want to join us on Thursday, we are going to be doing the same kind of webinar on quiet, digging a little into that. If you are watching this later and you missed it, don't worry. Look on this page somewhere that you found this one, and you'll find the quiet webinar recording also there too.
So today we introduce you to the SETT framework. No magic tools is not a dump of tools. This is a framework for thinking about the tools and finding those tools, but student first. And then the quiet is looking at district policy. So top down, bottom up, trying to squish some change out in the middle, right? So there are resources to support folks who I don't know where to begin. Well, some folks have already figured out, here's where you begin. Here's where you begin. And here's some really nice resources to get started.
Not necessary to reinvent the wheel because the wheel is already there.
It's true.
If you
we're
visit,
geniuses. We're just using stuff that has been there for a long time to support our work.
Exactly. So if you visit our website at NHATconnect.com, on the front page, it will ask you, who are you? I'm an educator. I'm an administrator. I'm a parent. I'm a student. It will bring you to a page. On that page somewhere will be a button that says Learning Module, the SETT Framework.
Mm-hmm.
And if you click that, it will take you to a web-based course we developed about the SETT Framework. Some of it is the things that we just went over with you right now when you were watching this. Others will go, then it will go deeper. So if you're looking for more information about that, that's an opportunity for you to continue to grow and learn about this.
Yeah, this is free. This is open to everyone. We use Articulate Rise to create the course as part of our NHAT Connect project last year. And it's a great resource that anybody can use. And it's filled with documentation that you might want to download, as well as little mini quizzes. It's 100% asynchronous e-learning. You can do it in your pajamas whenever you have time. You can do it with your colleagues, and you can do it one little bit at a time, but it really helps introduce you and feel more comfortable with the SETT framework and gives you some activities to actually try and reflect on.
I think that's the really powerful piece of it, is this opportunity to learn on your own pace, but bring others into it and have this be a catalyst for conversation with your teams. Oh, how are we doing that? What does that look like for us? How are we going to do that in our school? These are opportunities for you all to have these conversations so that your consideration process is thorough and thoughtful and consistent for all the students that you work with. And all those great words I love. Jen will tell you when we do the quiet.
Consistent. Not just
that word, consistent.
Not just some teachers, not just some classrooms. How do we get it so that district-wide, all students, when you have to do that consideration and check that AT box or not, have you gone through this process? And it's a complex but kind of simple but very powerful process to go through. Really get on the same page. And then you have perfect proof and evidence that you have done a thoughtful consideration before you check that box.
Before you check the box.
Mm-hmm.
You can check the box. We're not opposed to the box. It's just the idea that, how do you answer the question, why did you check the box yes?
When you have no evidence.
And then if you don't have an answer, I mean, the answer could be IDEA says I have to. Because that is really the answer, but that's not the right ansser.
This is true, but we also want
it is true. It's not the spirit of the question. It's not. I think it's important to think.
And one of the projects that we're working on this year, actually, we've been working on for a while, and we're doing this with our team this year, our district team, is providing checklists. Like, actually, okay, and then here's some ideas for some tools for these areas to give teams who don't know where to begin or what even the names of these tools are, who are continuously confusing text to speech and speech to text. They are different things, different direction. giving a little bit more guidance. And there's lots of resources to support folks as that. And we will get deeper into that in some future webinars.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. Here again is the QR code for the slides for today, as well as the link. It is a shortened link, a bit.ly/NHAT-SETT. That will get you to our slides. As we
Hope this
wrap up,
was
if
helpful,
anybody,
everyone. I hope you have some resources, some ideas, and we talk about process. Hope this gives you a little more details into what that process is. Go ahead, Mike. You're always good at closing things up.
yeah, I don't even have any kind of, you just closed it up nicely. We appreciate your time. Hopefully this has made you think a little deeper about the importance of this. I mean, if I could leave you with just some kind of final words, it's like, this is what makes successful AT solutions. This is where you have to live in
Yes.
order to see student success. It's not about more stuff. If you learn nothing from our half hour together today, learn that it is not about stuff. Stuff is good. I like stuff. Jen will tell you, I like stuff. I'm surrounded by tech right now on my desk. I love it. It's got to be the right thing though. And so we have to be critical of how we get to that, and we do that with our process. So we thank you for your time. We hope this helped you. And we look forward to seeing you at some of our other things. If you're watching this prior to May 16th, we'll give a quick plug for our AT Expo, which is happening in New Hampshire on May 16th, right? That's the right date, right, Jen? I always second guess if the 16th is the right date. Yeah, it
It's the
is.
right day. It's Thursday the 16th.
Thursday the 16th.
Right at the Department of Education building.
So if you're in New Hampshire and you want to join us, we would love to have you. If you're not in New Hampshire and you want to join us, heck, get in your car. We'll see you there. All the information lives on our website, which is nhatconnect.com.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Jen, as always, a pleasure.
Thanks, everyone. We can stop.
Everybody.